That in and of itself has been probably the top game changer within the past year and a half that we have been in this marriage. Like, I cannot stress this enough. What is up to all my little unicorns, new and old? It's your girl West Indie Ray, back again with another information-filled video. If any of you have been here for a while, or maybe just came across my video where I talked about how I manifested my boyfriend, or the one where I talk about how I manifested my husband, spoiler alert, it's the same guy. Or if you've seen my wedding video that is all here on my channel, then you will kind of get a feel of what my philosophy is on relationships. And I'm so thankful to be in the spot that I'm in right now, a year and a half into my marriage. We've been together almost 4 years, but we've been married for a year and a half, and that's just so crazy to me. And I know a lot of you guys really resonate with the things that I say, how I process things, and just my overall perspective on life. So I really wanted to just talk a little bit about some of the things that I have been thinking in my head that have made me a better partner to my husband in this past year and a half of us being married. This video is gonna be more about like the things that I have thought and that have made me a better partner, but trust and believe, he has been working his behind off to make sure that he is the perfect husband for me every day. We call it the daily pursuit of our best. It's something that we came up with in the beginning of our relationship, and it's basically just saying that every single day we're going to try our best. New opportunities come just as quick as seconds come. You know what I mean? So we are really intentional about how we handle each other. That's not to say that we have a perfect relationship or we are at our final destination, because I don't believe that you could ever really get to a final destination with things like this. It's kind of more of an experience that I feel lasts even longer than life lasts. Like, I really believe that me and this soul travel through worlds together. I don't care if anybody else thinks that I'm wrong, or if that's not possible, or if when you die that's not what happens, or whatever. I don't business with none of that, okay? It's what I believe, just the perspective that it gives me, the way that I operate through that perspective has been so rewarding for me. So I just wanted to share some of these things with you guys, because I don't know, I'm thinking maybe it might help with your relationship, whether it's your relationship with your friend or your family or anything like that. This is not really exclusive to romantic relationships. In fact, a lot of these things have helped me and bled over into other relationships and elevated those as well. It's just coming from a perspective of like, when I had the aha moment about it, the aha moment came within my relationship because of the way that I love that man. He inspires me to think deeply about things, and I really appreciate that about him. Without further ado, I hope all that made sense. I'm gonna get into the real nitty-gritty of the video now, okay? Okay. One of the main things that I have learned and really come to a really good understanding of within this relationship is the concept, and I'm sure you guys have heard this before, but that you don't own people, you experience people. I grow with every single second of the day, and just as I want to be accepted for that, I also have to realize that in my relationship, he's gonna go through things too. He's going to change his mind about things too. He's gonna evolve and develop and throw things away that were once really like important to him. He's gonna add things into his life that he never thought was possible. One of my friends said that her auntie, shout out to you, Chi-Chi, said, "You're not just dealing with a man, you're dealing with a soul." And when I heard that, I got goosebumps. If I really love this soul, then it is my duty to just help him along with that and help him to become himself. I think our job in life is not to control a person or promote them doing things that are more in alignment with what other people do, because at the end of the day, all of this is made up. Like, the societal rules and stuff that we have, if we were to flash back even 100 years, doing the things that we're doing now, people will look at you like you're crazy. So that being said, just because society says it should be one way, or this is how it is, or even this is how it's always been, that does not necessarily mean that it is an eternal truth. Therefore, I don't believe that it's something that you should hold people to so strictly, because things change all the time. For me, the belief that I have is that our job here, whether it's being a parent or being a partner or being a friend, is not to, you know, kind of persuade people into going along the route that society is going on, because also society be doing a terrible job sometimes, and it's not even really us all the time that are choosing it. Sometimes it's other people just constantly trying to market to and influence us for their benefit. I think that our responsibility for people who we love is to help them come back to themselves a million times. That is such a euphoric feeling. And I'm saying that because I've done it before. Becoming myself over and over again and unlocking the doors of my heart that sometimes I feel like I even forgot existed, knowing that you're going to be accepted on the other side of that, it's the best feeling ever. Like, I could really cry thinking about that feeling. And if you've never felt that feeling before, sometimes, you know, this concept could be a little bit difficult to understand. Sometimes this concept seems like really far out because we're so used to, you know, our programming, and we're so used to encouraging other people to play into the programming as well. It feels kind of crazy to be able to accept somebody, or maybe even yourself, outside of these parameters. But at the end of the day, I don't care what box that man fit in, okay? I don't even want him to be boxed up at all. I want him to be free, and I want there to be a constant return to self every day, because I feel like that is where the ascension lies. And what I want for my man is ascension, okay? I don't give a damn where they think that he places in this earth, because time is not real, okay? Time is not real. And this is my true self, so I hope y'all are like enjoying this content, because I just decided I'm gonna get on here and I'm gonna talk about what it is that I like to talk about. And hopefully if it, you know, inspires anybody, or even if it inspires you to disagree with me and come up with your own belief, if that's you, if that's authentic to you, that's fine, because at the end of the day, I'm being authentic to myself. I'm returning to myself, and I want that for you too. Return to yourself. Find out what's authentic to you. Tell me about the wisdom that you had from the past or the future, or whatever one of these realms that are going on simultaneously right now that maybe I haven't visited yet. I'm okay with all of that. I'm such an open book when it comes to these things. But yeah, long story short, you don't own people, you just get to experience them. And I want to experience all of his ancient and futuristic knowledge, all the ancient and futuristic and current present things that he's into and that he likes and that he, you know, feels like are authentic to him. Of course, we're gonna have a debate here and there about our likes and our interests. You like sports. When I see sports, I see a system that is unfair and that is rigged, and that's something that you're interested in. We can have that conversation all day, every day, but these are very world earthly things. And my goal with you is for you to feel like your eternal self in every moment, because that is so liberating, and it can take off the veil of a lot of the things that are going on in the world and help you live a way more fulfilling life, because it promotes a more eternal perspective. You know what I'm saying? So I know that was a little long-winded, and I really hope that you understood what I'm saying, and I hope that I was able to edit this in a way to where you could really understand what I'm saying. It has been so life-changing. I don't get hung up on the little things, and neither does he, because we really just want to observe each other rather than just being like, I want you to be like this and you got to do this for me because that's what they said on the podcast, or whatever the hell y'all be listening to. All right, so the next thing that has really helped me when it comes to being a really great partner in my relationship is understanding my own mortality and also his mortality. One thing that we all know for sure in this earth is that nobody makes it out of here alive, is what my dad always says. Now we can talk about that and talk about like, okay, the eternal soul is always living or it's infinite and all those things. So I don't mean it in that sense. I mean it in the physical body sense. Like, this person before you that you're watching right now is not always going to be walking and talking, okay? And that's so crazy to think about, because I leave such a large online footprint with all the videos and stuff that I put out, and I sometimes think about the day that I'm no longer here physically in the flesh anymore, and people could still look at my videos and my content. They could still comment RIP on my posts. Like, that is a really weird thing to think about that I never really started thinking about until my mom transitioned, and I realized like, wow, this is something that is really inevitable. Therefore, I believe that it is something that should be considered as you move through life. I would not ever want to be the person who does not consider my own mortality in the way that I move through life, and it's happening anyway. I don't want to be a person who squanders the moments that I have. So sometimes the things that bring us closer are not just knowing that you're gonna pass away or whatever one day, or that I'm gonna pass away one day, but with that perspective, knowing how fleeting these human bodies are, knowing how they're not meant to hold our souls forever. Some of the things that I feel like really strengthen our relationships can just be a simple touch between us. Being able to touch his arm or his leg, knowing that blood is running through it. Just knowing that this is a very temporary experience, being in these bodies, being in this body that I love so much. It makes me appreciate every single thing about that man. His hair, I appreciate the way that his eyes look. I appreciate the way that his eyes look when he sleeps. I appreciate the battle scars that he has. The man hurt his Achilles and had to get a surgery. I appreciate that scar because it's on the body that I have grown to love so much. And having that perspective really shifts the way that I interact with him. Not in a fearful, what if we get in an argument and he leaves? Or what if we argue and we go to sleep and we don't wake up? Not in that type of way, but it just promotes the utmost gratitude for the present time. Every time I take a moment to just realize, wow, this is so temporary, it really wipes my perspective clean of all the earth stuff that's going on. Instead, I'm focused on gratitude, and that helps me be a better partner because I believe that that is where we win. We win when we're sitting in gratitude, and it also allows me to use my time here way more intentionally. You know what I'm saying? And I never want to take him for granted, and that just, it flows throughout the whole relationship. The next thing that I'll say has really helped me in this relationship is being able to see this person not just as this grown man that I know and that I love, but also as the inner child version of himself that has needs that maybe didn't always get those needs met because the world is how the world is. One of the things that I've actually done that helps a lot as well, I put his little baby picture on my phone as like a little screensaver, right? He was so cute, I know. And yes, I was listening to Earth, Wind & Fire this morning. I did a little old school workout, it was great. But I have been learning to see him not just as his adult self, but also as his inner child. I enjoy just thinking about how I can satisfy the needs of that inner child so that we can both, you know, heal better together as we move forward in our lives. Just because we're in a different phase in our lives than we were when we were a kid, that doesn't necessarily mean that we don't have access to that healing. Sometimes just as my inner child needs a little bit of a hug, sometimes I might need a little bit of extra understanding. Sometimes I might have a reaction, and I am able to retrace my steps and go back to the time where I first felt that feeling and begin the healing work with that. I really like to encourage that in him as well and hold space for that inner child. Another thing that I think helps me in my pursuit of being a great partner in this relationship, and also, like I said, in other relationships in my life, is that I am not a divisive person. I particularly believe that if you love somebody, you will try your best to make sure that they have peace in their lives. I am never the type of person to add fuel to that fire. I will always try to be a part of the solution. Even if it's a situation that I completely empathize in and I see why that person would be upset, or a situation that affects me in one way or another, I'm always going to try to look at the grand scheme of things. I'm always going to seek understanding and seek ways to make the situation better because I love you and I know that it affects you in your life, and I know that you are at your best when all of your relationships are running at their highest potential in every given moment. The next thing I'm gonna say is that I have decided that I love everything about this person. Just because something might be a little bit irritating in the moment or when you first come across it, that does not mean that it's automatically a negative thing about that person. It might just be something that you can encourage them to find balance in. For instance, I'll give you a more specific example of what actually goes on between me and my husband, because I know y'all are nosy. Okay, he is so slow with things. When we're getting ready for the gym in the morning, he is so incredibly slow just putting on his shoes. Instead of me constantly processing that as a negative trait of his, instead I have learned to see that trait from a more holistic perspective. Just as I think that he's a little bit lax when it comes to hurrying it up sometimes, I also really appreciate his laid back approach to life, because I myself can be a little high strung sometimes. So it definitely helps me when he's able to relax me, put my mind at ease, and share his perspective with me that not everything is in a rush. Like, time's not real, it's fine. He's been telling me lately, there's never been a time where I told you it was gonna be fine and it wasn't fine. And he's actually right? But here I am rushing and getting all frantic over things. The man can really relax me. And if I always saw that as a negative thing, I would never be able to reap the benefits of that myself either. And it just helps me remain in a space to where I can give my input without it necessarily being so critical all the time, because I see it not just as a bad thing, but as a thing that has a beautiful side as well. And also, I want that same type of grace myself, so like, why would I do that, you know? So the next thing that I'm gonna talk about, and this actually might be the most important thing on the whole entire list. This was an absolute game changer for my husband and I in our relationship. It is learning to lead with curiosity instead of leading with defensiveness. So my husband and I, we went to couples therapy, not because we were having like any type of huge issue. Nothing happened within our relationship that was like unforgivable, but we just weren't seeming to communicate in the most effective manner. We had a really long talk and decided that, okay, if things are not drastically improved from this conversation, next time we have to have this conversation again, then we need to just start going to couples therapy, right? So we started couples therapy, and it was a really good experience for us. I would highly recommend anybody doing that, even if, like I said, there's no major problems in your relationship or anything like that. Think of therapy more as like building your toolbox for your relationship that you can use to work on things for the entirety of your relationship and the rest of the time that y'all are here on earth together, right? And also, like I said, this goes for other relationships as well. I wouldn't even be opposed to going to friendship therapy. Like, I'll go to therapy with my dad, I'll go to therapy with my sister. I love therapy, okay? I just had to add that little part in there because I'm an advocate for therapy with good Black therapists that you feel like are in alignment with you, okay? Yeah. So one of the things that we learned, not from the therapist, because we came up with this by ourselves because we're brilliant people, but through the process of therapy, one of the things that we noticed in our communication is that leading with defensiveness had us going the long route in things, whereas we can just get to the middle of it. How I envision this in my head is, picture that the relationship or the conversation is a circle. We were going circumference when we could have just gone radius. And the thing that was causing us to go circumference instead of radius is that we were leading with defensiveness, creating a boundary around ourselves rather than leading with curiosity instead, and just getting straight to the center of that circle, right? The center of the miscommunication or the argument or, you know, the issue, whatever issue it is that we were having in that moment. And this realization changed our lives. You have to realize that whoever it is that you're with or whoever it is that you are experiencing at that moment has had a whole entire life before you, just as you have had a whole entire life before them. So sometimes certain things might automatically make you defensive because although the person standing in front of you has good intentions when they're saying it to you, or they're just trying to communicate how they really feel, in past situations, a person bringing these things up to you or addressing you in a certain way were not necessarily with the best intention. So you kind of develop this barrier around yourself, this circumference, right? And you're on the circle on the inside, thinking that you're all safe and protected, but really it's a barrier that you have set up in order to protect yourself. Whereas if you take off the veil of all of your past experiences and past traumas and really see the person for who they are, the person that you chose to be with and you are choosing to experience right now, you don't have to lead with that defensiveness. There's no need to have to constantly protect yourselves from things. And in that way, you can decide to lead with curiosity instead. Figure out, okay, why does that person feel this way? Gain more of an understanding of what it is that they're actually trying to say. See how you can kind of explain or prevent them from feeling that way again, because at the end of the day, you don't want a person that you really care about to feel that way. And that's at the center of everything. And also, I want to say this, a quick way that you can identify if you're leading with defensiveness, anytime that you feel like you just responded rather than really hearing the person out or digesting what it is that they were saying, because it's a whole situation. It's not just how you felt, it's also what is the point that they were trying to get across, you know what I'm saying? So anytime that you feel like you're being particularly reactive, that's how you know that you have been leading with defensiveness, and that instead you might want to like kind of switch that to add a little bit of curiosity into it. So the next thing might seem a little surface level, but I promise you it absolutely changed my life. Before, if I ever had like any type of disagreement or I felt some type of way, or I felt like, you know, you wasn't considering me, or you tried it in whatever type of way, right? I literally have a playlist on my phone called I Don't Got Time. And whenever I felt like I don't got time for that, I would play this playlist that was filled with, you know, Keisha Cole, Zero, some Summer Walker, you know, a little bit of SZA, like those types of songs, right? And mind you, I have nothing against these brilliant, lovely ladies. They're all very talented. I still enjoy listening to those songs from time to time, but I had to realize that when I'm in a relationship with somebody who I really love and who I really want to make things work with, it might not be that conducive to the growth of our relationship. It might not be that conducive to the resolution of the issue if I just turn to the I Don't Got Time playlist, right? So instead, I decided to make a playlist that was more about coming together and reconciling differences and being in love and staying in love. And that's the type of stuff that I fill my head with, especially during times to where things might feel a little, you know, irritating or less happy and joyful than usual. And I can share this playlist with you guys as well. It's on Spotify. I will drop it in the description box. I will always reach for that above the other one because I want to align with the type of vibe and the type of energy that I want to see moving forward. I don't want to keep myself in this miserable place to where I'm feeling isolated and alone, where it's like kind of exasperating the problem and, you know, putting these ideas in my head, stirring up all these emotions from the other times that I've ever listened to these songs. Like, I don't want to do that in my relationship because I love you. There are so many supplemental things that you can do with intention that will actually feed your relationship and help you get to a more enjoyable place a lot quicker rather than playing into the old story. So that is my little conversation of things that I have done or thought about that have really helped me become the best partner that I can be today, and that will probably continue to help me become a better partner tomorrow and the day after and the day after, throughout my path of being a wife to this wonderful man who is always trying to be the best that he can be every day. I'm so appreciative of him. And I hope that these little thoughts can help somebody in some way, whether it is in your romantic relationships, your familial relationships, or even your relationship with self. I just hope that these little things help people, and that if not, you just take it with a grain of salt, because I'm not the end all be all and I don't know everything. And also, I've only been in this relationship for 4 years. So as I continue to grow, I will continue to come to y'all with the best intentions and the best information or thoughts that I can. Just know that I always love you guys and that I appreciate you being here and actually hearing me out and listening to things that I have to say. Make sure you leave a little unicorn in the comment section below, as well as a comment letting me know things that have maybe helped you in your relationships. As usual, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Follow all my social media accounts right down there, and I will see you in the next video.